Hey everybody, this is Real Talk episode 4. For those who don't actually know what I'm saying, what I'm actually saying. Hey everybody, welcome to Real Talk episode 4. If you haven't seen Real Talk before, this is just a web series where we talk about the kind of topics of life and faith. There's another 3 episodes on our YouTube channel, so you can check those out before you watch this one. But we get a different guest on every time, and we ask them the questions that you posted to us about different topics. So these are your questions, and we hope to answer them as best we can. This time, our episode is about identity and self-esteem and self-image and all those kind of things. And so you've been posting your questions in, which is great. So thanks for doing that. And our guest today, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So over to you.
Hello, I'm Beth. Hello. I am up in York. I used to know Sam and TCC pretty well because I was part of your church, I think about 6 years ago, I want to say. Yeah, it's been that long. I work for a church called the Belfry in York. I run their internship, but also I'm their assistant youth worker. I got married nearly a year ago, 2 days before lockdown, which is amazing. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
Awesome, cool. That's amazing. Right, before we start with the questions that the youth have asked, I thought we'd do a bit of a get to know you round so our young people can get to know you a little bit better. So I've got a kind of options round. So it's a quick fire kind of questions round. I'm going to ask you some questions with 2 options. You can't think about it too much. You just kind of got to say the first answer that you kind of think in your head. It's just got to be There's no you can't elaborate either. So it's just got to be straight off. Okay. And we'll go through them. Okay, here we go. Are you ready?
Yes.
No pressure. Okay. KFC or McDonald's?
McDonald's.
Amen. Beach holiday or city break?
Beach holiday.
Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings?
Harry Potter, I think.
Wow, you did not sound confident about that at all. Apple or Android?
Apple.
Facebook or Instagram?
Oh, Instagram.
That's a toughie. That is a toughie. Chinese or Indian?
Chinese. But both
Marvel.
are great.
Yeah, to be fair, I love all that. Loving the lockdown takeaway vibes at the moment. It's honestly, that's all you can do really. Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Texting or a phone call?
Oh. Phone call. 100%.
Phone call. Okay. Hillsong or Elevation?
I'm going to say Hillsong.
Okay, cool. Reading a book or watching a series on Netflix?
Netflix, and I've got through lots of them this year.
Yeah, that's for sure. Are there any recommendations for Netflix series? That's what I'm going to ask you. Because there's been a few from our young people, but I want to know what you've been watching.
We've made our way through a few things. We've made our way through the whole of New Girl.
Okay.
We've made our way. We're currently watching The American Office because I've never seen it before.
So good.
Which I'm sorry. Good. I'm sorry that probably offended you.
Oh man, do you know what? I wish I could watch it for the first time again. I just wish I could. I wish I could react to the things that happen. It's amazing. How far into it are you?
About season 6, I think.
Oh wow, you're quite far in. That's you're getting towards the end. All right, so do you like it?
Yeah, I love it. It's so good.
It's so awesome. Good. That's so good. Right. So now that we've got to know you a little bit better, we'll go on to the serious questions now. We'll do the questions that the young people have asked. So the young people have asked loads of questions about this topic. This has been a really kind of hot topic, really, and a really popular topic with the young people. Mm-hmm. And so I thought we'd just go through the questions that they've asked, all based around this idea of self-image, self-esteem, and kind of body image and those kind of things. A lot to do with social media, to be fair. I think social media has kind of played a big part in these questions. Yeah. And so we're going to talk about those things and discuss them and try and answer the questions as best you can. So the first question is, they put, I kind of get that my identity is in God, but practically, how do I let that sink in when I'm having negative days? So I kind of understand that my identity is in God, but practically, how do I let that sink in when I'm having negative days? Have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I want to start by saying that it's very normal to have those days. Like, I think whether you're a girl or a boy, it's very normal. And actually, that can be for many different reasons. It could be because of something that maybe you've gone through. Actually, you have a negative experience and then that's impacting you. Or it could be something that you see on social media, see a picture of someone and you're like, wow, they look amazing. And I don't look anything like that. And that, I think that's just part of life. And I'm not trying to dampen that down, but I think I want to say, actually, it's very normal to feel like that. And so what the thing to talk about now is, when you're in that situation, how do we cling on to God and our identity being in him in those moments? Can I share a little testimony from myself? I think I spoke a little bit about this. I did a similar talk on this at TCC a couple of years ago, actually. And one of the things that I really struggle with is I've got a really negative relationship with my earthly dad. So he left our family, walked out about 8 years ago. And I look exactly like him. And actually, I find it really hard because physically I resemble someone that I don't actually have a relationship with. And sometimes when I look in the mirror, that can be really hard. And actually, that might be the same for some of us listening to this, that actually maybe you've been rejected by somebody and they've come down to a looks thing, or you've been dumped by someone and actually that's come down to them saying horrible things about you. And actually it's really hard when you look at yourself, because actually that can sometimes mean that that's what you see back in the mirror. The things that I want to say is that actually this is easier said than done, because actually I would say that I'm journeying with this. I don't know how you feel about that as well, Sam, because actually, as I say, this is definitely not just a thing for girls, this is a thing for guys too. But actually what we need to be doing is, in those times where we're having a negative day, we're looking at ourselves and just feeling pretty rubbish about ourselves, is actually, instead of speaking words over ourselves that are our words, or even the words of people that have said them over us, we need to be looking to speak God's words over us. Now, like I said, that's easier said than done, because actually when we're in those difficult times and days where it's not that amazing, obviously our minds are like swirling round and getting creative with all these adjectives that you'd use. But actually the Bible has so much to say on who we are. Firstly, Jesus died for you. That's because he loves you, not because of who you are or because of what you look like or because of what you've done. And we should say that over ourselves every day, whether we're having a good day or a bad day.
For sure.
But this question of how do I let that sink in, I think it's good to get creative with this. Have a look through the Bible and find out pieces of the Bible which tells us about who you are, who your identity is in, and what your identity is. I'm going back to when I came to speak, but I brought the Father's Love Letter. I think this is a kind of classic thing we sometimes bring out. You can find it simply by searching it on Google, but it's like a little written as a letter, and it's just literally Bible verses that says who God is and who we are. And I've just got a version of it. I've literally got it here, and
I love that.
I have it in my bedside table. So if I open my drawer, it's just there. I can just read it. And even just reading one little verse from that can massively change my day.
I love that. That's awesome.
That's also
really cool.
Yeah, also there's a passage in Ephesians, which is in the New Testament, just chapter 1. And if you look through that, there's loads of words that it says of who we are and our identity, how we are in looking and being and living in Christ. And so I'd direct you to that and, take one of those words and think, okay, what does it mean for me to be the daughter of the King of Jesus, because that's who I am, and you're a son of, and actually that's our identity. So I'd encourage you to wear those words, that scripture, as your armor as you face the mirror every day.
I love that. That's so good. I love that. That's amazing. I think also we've got so much culturally, kind of culture tells us what we kind of need to look like and what the standard is, and so that becomes our benchmark often in our own minds. And I think actually we need to it's almost like we need to actually kind of, as much as we take in culture, because it's all around us everywhere, actually by doing stuff like reading the Father's Love Letter, almost constantly, it's just digesting that truth always, just almost. And I think sometimes we forget that, because I think sometimes we're so surrounded by culture, we're so surrounded by comparison and all those things, that actually that's what we start to believe it. So it's almost like we need to actually say, do you know what, these verses and these truths, it's almost like we need more of these. Like we need to overtake those cultural things with those things. And the Father's Love Letter is available online for free. So guys, if you're watching, you can download it. It is awesome. And I remember when you preached on it, it was amazing. So our young people do read it, and so that's awesome. That's great. The second one is it right or wrong to put filters or Photoshop your social media photos? I thought that was a really interesting question. Especially I suppose for Instagram, probably more so, but I guess for all of them. But as kind of followers of Jesus, I guess, is it right or wrong to put filters or Photoshop your social media posts? Or maybe even if it's not like a right or wrong thing, kind of what do we think about that? It's a tough one.
I would not say it's wrong, but I would question your reasoning for it. So there are some like really cool, fun filters and things that you can put on your pictures. And actually that's great. I mean, you're having a laugh, and it's, I do use filters on some of mine, particularly if I've like taken a photo and it's really poor like quality. Sometimes if you make it in like, if you put it in like black and white, not because I look bad, but just generally the picture's bad. It's good to like,
so good.
You Love can that. Change it and make your like photography skills look ever so slightly better.
For sure. 100%.
But I think we're actually seeing a massive change in this, Sam, because like think back a few years ago, every single like shopping site that you went onto, like shops and stuff. I'm thinking of like, I would shop on ASOS or whatever.
And amen. More.
The photos of models would always be completely airbrushed. You'd not see any like blemishes on people's skin. And actually we're getting to a point in culture where people are saying, no, that's not okay. Now, being really honest, I'm not the thinnest of girls, and I have put on classic lockdown weight, which does bring insecurity, I have to admit, and maybe some of you can relate to that. But what is really encouraging is when you are looking and you're looking online and you see stuff that actually hasn't been photoshopped, you can see the real person. And I think that's my kind of encouragement to all of us, that if we're uploading pictures, if we're editing photos, don't change who you are. The person should be able to see who you are on the picture. Have some fun with it, but I think it's good to remember that actually, you don't want someone to get a shock if they see you down the street and actually you look completely different to what your Instagram looks like. Actually be true to who you are. If you've got some bad spots that day, it's fair enough if you choose a better filter to make them look a little bit better, because some of us get insecure about that. But actually, just go for it.
So good.
Show yourself.
It's a real challenge for us all, I think, for sure. It was a great question. But the next one is, I look at other people and see so many talents and gifts in them, but I don't know what mine are. How do I discover what God has for me? I think this is really powerful, because I think often, even when I was growing up, I think I was surrounded by loads of young people. We had a massive youth group, and there was loads of young people, and obviously everyone kind of had different talents and giftings and stuff like that. But I remember always having conversations and thinking, oh man, I wish I was better at this, or I wish I could do this. But how do we kind of discover, really what God has for us? Because I think he's made us uniquely. How do we discover those things if we don't know them already?
I think if we don't know them already, it's really important to start from a perspective of what are you passionate about? Actually, some people are passionate about music and they've got the gift of singing, playing, whatever. I feel fortunate in that sense, that I feel like God has gifted that to me. And in some ways that's quite obvious. I think there are some other giftings and that we've got that are less obvious. And actually we need to look into what are we passionate about? What has God placed on our heart? Because actually you might be passionate about music, but you can't play anything, and that's fine. But
Yeah,
that
for
could
sure.
also be a real gift. God could really use you in a different way to the obvious.
Yeah, yeah.
Thinking outside of the box. Another thing that I'd say is ask people that know you
So
what
good. Yeah, I love that.
your talents are, what your gifts are. Now, I probably wouldn't say this straight away, but when I've asked other people this, other people have said to me, "Oh, Beth, you're really good at encouraging people."
Mm.
So that's a gift that God has given to me. I probably wouldn't recognize that because it's just part of who I am. It's what I do.
Yeah, definitely.
Actually, maybe you're a good listener or a good communicator, you're good with words, or you're good with art, or you're great on the football pitch, or and actually think about, they don't have to be like specific, we can just use these gifts in church. No, it's going to be whatever you're passionate about. And if you're passionate about something, have a think, are you good at that thing? And if you feel like you could grow in it more, ask God to help you with that.
Yeah, so good.
The other thing I would say is comparison is the thief of joy.
Mm. Yeah.
So this question looks like this person is looking at other people and seeing stuff that they can do, and actually there's comparison there. Now, Sam, I know that you can play guitar and you can sing. I can do the same. But if I'm going to look at you and completely compare myself to you all the time and be like, I need to be more like Sam, I need to be better at it, he's so good at it, like I'm just so rubbish in comparison, that's completely like robbing the joy from the gift that actually I personally also have.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I'd say be careful, don't like with comparing yourself to other people. You can see gifts that other people have and be like, okay, maybe I could try that. But sometimes that's not the right thing for you, because actually, like you say, God has created us uniquely and wants to use us in different ways in our different friendship groups, churches, families. And so get excited about it, be joyful about the things that you can do and that you are passionate about, rather than comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, I love that. I love that, and I love that what you said about asking other people, because I think sometimes when we look at ourselves,
Yeah.
we all have things that we think we might be, we want to try or we want to step out in, and I think so often we almost convince ourselves not to, because then the filters of like fear come in, and doubt, and I'm going to fail, and all these different things. And I think actually that I think those things can really stop us from moving forward. But actually, I think other people, when they speak that stuff over us, they see us without that, those filters of our insecurities and all those things. And actually, I think it can be really helpful. I love that. It's so good. The next one is following influencers on Instagram a bad thing? This is massive, because I think obviously the whole conversation with influencers over lockdown has become a massive thing in the news, hasn't it? About them being in Dubai and all those other countries and all that stuff. It's kind of really shaken up the whole influencer thing in general. But I think especially for young people, obviously that's what they see on Instagram, really. And the programs that the reality TV shows that are on TV. There's so many, and I think that these people are the people that I guess we follow on Instagram and see what they're up to and all these different things. But is that a bad thing? Is that a negative thing? What do you think?
Well, the biggest influencer that I follow on Instagram is Sam Donnell. But
oh, stop it! Oh, that backfired. Oh, honestly.
No, it's so weird, isn't it? Because there's whole stuff that's been going on this year with the conversation about that. I personally wouldn't say that I, no offense, Sam, but that I don't actually follow any influencers as such. That's just because I don't really know who they are.
Yeah, fair enough.
But to an extent I do, because actually I think I have people on my social media that do influence me. There's a big difference, I think, there, because influencers are almost like celebrities, and I've got my fair share of celebrities that I follow on Instagram. I find I'm actually really nosy, so I just enjoy looking at what they're doing.
100%.
But there has to be a point where we look at who are we being influenced by, and is the stuff that they're promoting and talking about actually helpful for us in our journey with Jesus. There's a Bible verse in Philippians 4 verse 8. It says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. So my challenge to that is, I personally don't think that following influencers on Instagram is a bad thing, but I think if it becomes something that is not enabling you to think about things that are pure and admirable and lovely, like this Bible verse, then actually I'd suggest unfollowing them.
Yeah, so good.
You know, you want to have your social media filled with things that point you to Jesus. Now that actually doesn't mean that you have to get rid of everybody off your Instagram that's not a Christian, because that's not right. But actually thinking about, what is this influencer actually talking about? Or is this influencer wearing inappropriate clothing on all their videos, and that's actually leading me to be tempted? You know, those kind of things. It's about thinking about how you can replace maybe some of that negative stuff with the stuff that is of God, and having a good balance as well on your Instagram feed. I'm thinking about Instagram particularly because that's what I use, but I know there's other things as well. But also having Christian people, bands, speakers on there that you can follow and look at their content to get some good influence into your life too. Particularly things that come up with Bible passages and short little videos that you can watch. Having a really good mixture, but I'd say assess it for yourself. If this is unhelpful, and maybe have a think about that as well. You know, you might not have even realized it, but if something that someone is promoting or talking about and actually it's not a helpful thing for you, then maybe think about, is that influencing you in a negative way, and maybe think about unfollowing them. But I'd personally say, I don't know if you agree, but I'd personally say I think it's down to you, and I think it's up to you to think about what you want to have pouring into your life and into your mind as you're sat there scrolling through all these different things.
Yeah, I love that. There's so much wisdom there. 100%. I completely agree. I think that's awesome. I think also as well with influencers is that the issue is with influencers is that it's not, their social media feed isn't necessarily reality. It's not, you know, even though most of them are from reality TV or whatever, even reality TV it's not real. It's completely constructed and all those things, and it's enhanced and different things. But especially their social media feeds, I think the danger is that when you see a post where, you know, someone's put, oh, just a candid photo of me, you know, it's not a candid photo. There's like a photography team, and there's lights up, and there's like, you know, and it's been really carefully constructed to make sure the background's nice, and to, you know, it's not just off the cuff. And I think that kind of bleeds into loads of different things. I think also with, you know, with influencers, when they take pictures of like, you know, their couple shots, and it just looks perfect, and it's just it looks amazing, and it looks like they're having so much fun and all these different things. And I think it's so dangerous sometimes, because I think we look at that and we think, oh man, why can't my life be like that? Like, why can't my life be that exciting? That, you know, all these different things. But the reality is that, you know, you don't know what's behind the lens. It's, you know, it is constructed, and a lot of it is, you know, really carefully edited and all these different things. And I think the reality is with influencers is it's, you know, it is almost like their job, really. It's like it's a business. It's not necessarily just their feed of their stuff. And I think actually that we've just got to be so careful not to compare against that, because what we're comparing against is something that's not reality and it's not real. And I think it can be dangerous for us, because it makes us feel like we're not living our best life or whatever, you know, whatever it is. And so I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily, like you said. I think it's just, you just really got to, you know, carefully consider it, and almost prayerfully consider it, really, and think about who you're following. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I love a bit of reality TV. I do love a bit of that, but even when I watch it, I do find myself looking at, you know, I do find myself comparing. I'm like, oh man, wouldn't it be great to go to that place, or wouldn't it be great to have those kind of clothes, or, you know, that kind of money, or these, you know, and all these different things. And I'm like, again, I'm comparing it to like something that I think is, you know, is not real. It's I do find myself slipping into those things. And so I don't think it's just girls, I think it's guys as well. I think if we're all honest, I think we all struggle with that. And so yeah, I think that's what you said I thought was great.
There's also so much behind the scenes that we don't see. I think, you know, like you were saying, we'll see couple shots of people like that, and actually they might be having a really rocky time, and we don't know 100%. That because they're not being honest about it. Similarly, you can see these guys and girls who have these beautifully toned bodies and look amazing, but realistically they're probably on this freak diet that's actually making them feel quite mentally and physically unwell. And so actually, you know, things like this can be very much a lie. And
Yeah,
we
for
want to
sure.
fill our minds with things that are good and godly, and God isn't a lie. I believe that
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
um, so I think there's a good challenge there of it's the same thing. I mean, going away from social media for a moment, it's the same thing as, like, we joked about watching stuff on Netflix, but it's the same thing.
mm,
What are you watching? What are you consuming? And how is that impacting you? We actually started watching a series. I'm not going to say what it was, but we watched a series on Netflix that was actually really not helpful for me and my husband. We were watching it and just felt really weird when we stopped the episodes.
right.
A lot was going on about kind of this family and, like, the stuff that they were going through, and we'd like turn it off and just feel like really negative and down. And we
Mm,
made the decision to stop watching that because we were like, actually, that's really unhelpful for us both. Like, let's just not watch. It was a good program, but, like, let's just not watch that anymore because that wasn't helpful for either of us.
yeah,
So yeah, maybe think about that in this time.
yeah, so good. Yeah, that's awesome. We've got the last question. Dun, 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 dun. Is wearing makeup wrong as a Christian? So someone's asked that. Is wearing makeup wrong as a Christian?
What do you think?
Well, I've got loads on for this video, so no, I was joking. I know people that have really strong opinions on this. It just in my friendship group and just in my life, I know, and kind of different opinions, not necessarily just the same kind of opinion on it or whatever. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's wrong for if a girl wants to wear makeup. I think it all comes down to, I guess, like, your reliance on it, and I guess, like, is it a healthy thing? And I think if you're kind of like, that's your reliance on making you happy and feel accepted and those things, and it's maybe a slightly more dangerous territory. But I don't know. What do you think? It's difficult for a guy, because I guess for a guy, like, we look at it in the sense of like looking at a girl, for example, and so, like, whereas for a girl, it's obviously like what they want to, I guess, put out there. So I suppose it's a different thing, really.
Yeah, I've really been on a journey with this, actually.
Mm.
So when I will have, like, seen you in person when I used to live in Thundersley, I wore a lot of makeup. Now, part of that was a little bit because I was in a like a job where I was on stage a lot, and so, like, realistically in that situation you want to wear some makeup because it's quite helpful with writing and stuff like that. In the last, like, couple of years, and particularly during this whole lockdown where realistically we're not really seeing anyone, I've really started thinking, okay, well, what am I doing to my face? And I don't really wear it anymore. Now, and that's a personal choice. I'm not saying that I don't think it's wrong, but again, I think this is coming back to this whole question of, like, the photoshopping and the filters and stuff, because I think the danger with makeup is that probably quite a lot of us feel insecure about our face. I'd say definitely as a young person, and even now, like, I've struggled with, like, spots and things like that, and I automatically want to just cover that up because I feel insecure about that. And so makeup's really helpful, particularly for girls. I mean, some guys probably wear it as well to cover up those particular issues that you've got. But actually, I've realized that that's actually had a knock-on effect, because makeup actually does more harm to you in that situation, because you're putting stuff into that, like, all your spots on your face. So
for sure, yeah.
Even now, I'm 25 and I still struggle with that a little bit. My face is not in a massively good condition. So I've actually started realizing that, okay, I need to start letting people see who I actually am and not hide behind that anymore, not hide behind the tons of mascara and stuff. And to be honest, at first when I stopped wearing it, I was like, gosh, I feel so bare. Like, I feel just really weird. Like, my face felt really strange because it'd been so used to it for so long. But there was such a shift that I had, actually, almost like mentally, with me kind of thinking, okay, people can see who I am, and I'm going to have to get over it because sometimes I'm not going to look amazing. But it's me. This is me. This is who I am. And not many people have got to see that before, but this is it. No, you could probably like roll this out, not just makeup, but like other things as well. So you can probably tell, Sam, because when I lived near you, I had bleach blonde hair. Um,
The
I've
only
got
way
my
is
nose
Essex.
pierced. Like I've dyed this. This is a dyed hair color.
Hmm.
So there's other mixed opinions on that as well. And I think it's really is a little bit down to, for me personally, like I don't know if people would agree with me, but this is like just a personal choice thing. It's not because I hate my hair color. It's just because I just want to be a bit creative, really, more than
Love it.
anything.
Yeah,
You
yeah, for
know,
sure.
rather than it's kind of a heart, where is your heart at with it? I think if you're completely reliant on it. I had a friend once that said to me that she one time in like a whole year she went out to the shops and didn't put any makeup on, and she felt like she was going to have a panic attack the whole way around the supermarket.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
not how you want to be in that position.
No, 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 of course.
um
Yeah.
I mean, trust me, I'm now married and I have to now live with somebody that sees me in every single different like good and bad time. And actually I would hate the thought that I would have to, like, as soon as I woke up, quickly like run downstairs and like fill my face with makeup so that I felt comfortable in front of my husband.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
that's not how I feel, and he's definitely seen me in my bad times. But I think, it's thinking about why are you doing it? Is it because you want to look amazing to impress loads of people, and because actually you can't live without it? Maybe this is a good time to start, whilst we're in a bit of a lockdown, to start kind of coming off it a little bit and thinking, okay, can I expose other people to what I actually look like?
Mm.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought on it, really. I don't want that to sound like judgmental or any or negative,
No, don't
really,
think it.
but yeah,
No.
I think with this whole thing, just to kind of end on that this whole thing is that as Christians we're asked to reflect Jesus. Okay, now that might sound like a weird thing, especially if you're a girl, because actually Jesus was a guy. And so we do look naturally very different to what he'd look like. But this is more meaning, how are we living and how are we witnessing, showing him to other people?
Mm.
I want to live a life that is actually pretty much kind of cards on the table. You know who I am, and actually for people to be able to see Jesus by the way that I live. Now, makeups and filters and everything aside, actually when it comes to identity, we need to be showing our non-Christian friends and family that our identity is in Jesus and nothing else. And that's really hard.
Mm.
But when they see that, they'll see that we've got something that they've not got. And they'll
Yeah,
start asking us questions about that. They'll start wanting to know more about that. And who knows, maybe they'll give their life to him as well. And how amazing would that be?
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so I think that's my little challenge on this whole thing about identity. I think self-esteem wise, yeah, it's tough.
Mm.
Like, we are going to have some bad days and some good days, particularly in this pandemic. It's really hard. Some days you have good days, some days you have bad days. But we want to be reflecting Jesus and letting people see him through the way that we're living. And so let's not hide anymore. Let's just be who we are, and be
Yeah.
who he's created us to be, using the gifts that he's given us, even if they're a little bit wacky and we've not really found where we can use them yet. So yeah, I think I'd kind of say
Yeah.
that on this whole topic.
Yeah, that's so good. Beth, I thank you so much for being so honest and vulnerable. It's I really, really appreciate it. And I know that the watchers will appreciate it. Yeah, you just being kind of open about these things, and kind of the struggles. I think sometimes, especially for young people, I think they feel like they're the only people that struggle with these kind of things. And I think it's important for them to know that actually, I'm 28. I still think these kind of thoughts. I still get spots at 28. I still have like days where I'm just like, oh, like, I don't like what I'm wearing, or I don't like, all these different things. And so I don't think it's just young people that go through those things, and I think it's important for them to know that. But I thank you for your honesty and your vulnerability, and yeah, just your wisdom. It's been so good. Guys watching, this is the fourth episode of Real Talk. There's three other episodes, on YouTube. This will go on YouTube as well. We're going to take a short break from Real Talk for a while. We might come back to the kind of second season of questions, but keep your questions coming in on social media. The social media links will be up on the screen now, and you can send your questions in. Love to talk to you guys about these different issues, and if you've got questions and yeah, all these different things, so send them in. But yeah, Beth, thank you for joining us. This has been awesome, and yeah, for those watching, we'll see you guys soon. Bye.